Hi, this is Dr. Srinivas Kaveti. I am an international lawyer, educated in law in India, Australia, England, and America. So today's video I'm going to do on legal analysis of the Air India Boeing crash in India, which took off from Ahmedabad to Gateway International Airport of London. The aircraft had a crash in the afternoon. So I'm going to do the legal analysis of how this incident happened and what are the international laws pertaining to this, and what are the rights of victims, and how does the insurance covers, what is the liability of Air India, and what is the liability if there is any product liability of Boeing, which is the aircraft is manufactured by Boeing of U.S. corporation, and the insurance, and if these victims, and the victims have almost everybody died except one person, and their families, do they have any right to recover any compensation? What are the insurance aspects, and what does the Montreal Convention says, and what is the Rome Convention, and what are the laws pertaining to India, and what are the laws pertaining to international law, carriage laws, Air Act, in terms of airlines regulations, in terms of Director of Aviation of India, and what are the liabilities of government of India, or even the airlines, Air India, or the liability of the company, the carrier company, and the liability of pilots, or even the contractors, or a maintenance crew, or even the third parties. So I'm going to talk about all these things in 3 or 4 different chapters. The first chapter would be, the first episode would be that what happened. This flight, which came from Delhi to Ahmedabad, and they were carrying 232 passengers from India, from Ahmedabad to London Gateway. The passengers majority of passengers were Indians, and there were 50 passengers from Great Britain, and there are 1 passenger from Canada and from Portugal. All these people, and this aircraft was carrying some infants and children. And the crash happened in the afternoon when the flight took off from Ahmedabad. Within 5 to 10 minutes, that flight went and hit in BJ Medical College hostel, where it has the crash has killed many inmates. They was all medical students and interns. They died having some lunch. 35 people died in that crash, and almost all 232, including the air crew and the pilots and all the passengers, died instantly. And there was a big blaze of the aircraft, and there was miraculously only 1 passenger from Great Britain, who was of Indian origin, saved because he jumped out of the window of the aircraft. In this case, I'm doing it just to educate the families of victims, as part of the advocacy for the victims' families, and to educate and share my wisdom with the media as well, and to the whole of victims' families, and the whole of the world. Then, first of all, what are the legal aspects of this? In such a major air crash incidents, what are the laws pertaining to this, and who is liable, and is the airline's carrier liable, or is the manufacturer of the aircraft is liable? Are there any product liability issues, like if there's any defect in designing, or if there's any machinery defect, or is there any maintenance defects by the airlines, or is it a defect of the pilot? Are there any errors on the pilot? Are there any act of God? Is there any is there any bird hit, or is there any terrorism? All of that I will be covering in this video, even though it's a little long, but it's going to give you a lot of information about the law, about the liabilities, insurance aspects, how these victim families can claim, what is their locus standi, and how much they can claim under the Montreal Convention, what is the Rome Convention, and what are the laws pertaining to India as well in terms of the airline laws, and what are the regulations pertaining to India, and which courts have jurisdiction, what is a proper forum, and what are the evidential aspects of it, and what laws applies, what conventions applies. Everything we'll be covering in this video. The first and foremost thing for anybody to understand such, there's a convention called Montreal Convention. And this Montreal Convention, before that, there was some Rome conventions, Warsaw Convention. These are all international conventions for governing air. And for example, if there's any negligence on the part of couriers, and are there any air crash, how the victims can claim compensation. The first and foremost thing is the Montreal Convention says that India is a signatory, Great Britain is a signatory, US is signatory. There are about 62 countries are parties to the convention. What does it mean? That means because India is also party, treaty party to the Montreal Convention, that means it's an international convention. The India applied those, it took it into a municipal laws, and this is part of the convention, means that convention governs this accident in Great Britain or in US. One must understand that the aircraft, which was Air India aircraft, which was manufactured by Boeing, and the carrier is Air India. And now Air India is, before it was Air India means it was the government used to own. It was a public limited company. Government of India had a lot of shares. Recently, a couple of years ago, the Air India sold this to Tata's. And Tata owns this company now. In this Air India, even Singapore Airlines have some stake. Air India, the Tata company has a stake. And Tata is a multinational company. It's the largest company in the world now. They're into different businesses. It's a conglomerate of a lot of companies, and they own this company now. It's a privately held company now, even though they're still using the name Air India. Basically when you say Air India, it is a government of India owned company. But now it is a private equity stakes. It used to have a Vistara, and the Singapore Airlines and Tata Airlines owns this company, the holding companies of that. So that means because when we see this accident, one has to understand what is the liability of this Air India, and what is the liability of Tata's, what is the liability of Singapore Airlines, and what is the liability of Vistara. Vistara is a joint venture company between Singapore Airlines and Air India. So this air crash which has happened, one has to determine and understand, because it just happened 24 hours ago, and the Department of Civil Aviation is conducting an investigation to understand whether it was a pilot error, or was it any terrorism, or was it a bird flu which has hit the aircraft, or is it a mechanism defect, or is it a defect of the product, which is the Boeing's defect. So they're all determining this, or they're saying, are there any other third party failures in the part of, was it not airworthy when the engineers have given airworthy before it took off? Because this flight came from Delhi to Ahmedabad 2 hours before. It was in a good condition, but we have seen all the information which I have gotten is through the media, even though there are no authentic sources to make this video based on the media resources we are doing, but we have taken out a lot of information from different international and national media. Based on that media, we are doing this video. So as per our legal analysis, we are coming up with this information. The first and foremost thing, who is liable? Is the pilot liable because all the pilots have died and all the passengers have died? And because these passengers have died, there are children there, there are women, there are old age people, there are some infants. And even the crew has died instantaneously. And because of this crash, it has crashed the BJ Medical College building, hostel building. The third parties and students and some interns and doctors have died in this instantly died, and many have sustained some serious injuries and they're taking medical treatment. So, what is the what is the cause of action first of all, and what is the standing? Who has a standing to recover, and what is the procedure to recover compensation? What does the Montreal Convention says, and what is SDR? What are the rights of these victims' families? How much they can recover? Does the tort law applies in this case? And what does the Indian laws pertaining to this injuries? And what is the compensation? What is the limit of compensation? And what is the cause of action? What is the standing? Does the families have a cause of action to recover because the loss of the family, they have died, it's a wrongful death action? How much they can recover, and mitigation of damages, and are there any insurance aspects out of this? So we'll be talking of all of that. The first and foremost thing the Montreal Convention says, it is a strict liability. The carriers are strictly liable if any air crash happens or any accident happens by the airlines. What does it mean? If there is any injuries sustained by the passengers, or if there is a wrongful death, if there is damage for the third parties, even the third party means ground staff or any third parties like human beings or buildings or property has been damaged, what is the compensation? The Montreal Convention says they have to award at least 1.3 crores as per SDR. So there is no questions asked. The carriers are liable to pay the victims. It's called strict liability and absolute liability. That is the word used in the convention. So they are not going to mitigate, and they're not going to see the victims' families don't have to prove whose fault it is, whether it is a carrier fault, whether it is the ground staff fault, whether it is a defect of the product, whether it is a defect of the manufacturer, or any other product defects or any other defects. Even if it is an act of a god, or if there's a bird, if there's an accident with the birds, or if there is a pilot error, or if there is any terrorism, all of that, the Montreal Convention says you have to pay compensations for the victim. That is called Montreal Convention. And because India is a treaty partner, and Air India is because Air India is registered in India, those airlines are all registered in India. They have a number registered in India. The aircraft is registered in India. The company is registered in India. So the Indian law applies. And because India is a treaty partner for the Montreal Convention, so because even though it's an international convention, the India has adopted in its municipal laws, so they have to pay. So that's the first thing. And when we looked at the media, the Tata has already declared 1 crore for rupees for each victim's family. That means it could be an ex gratia, and the government of Gujarat is trying to declare ex gratia, and the government of India is trying to declare some ex gratia. These are not part of compensation, but Montreal Convention says you are required to pay at least 1.3 crores to 1.5 crores. As per the SDR, they have right to claim under the international monetary laws and international laws convention. And the second thing is the victims' families or passengers' families can claim under the Montreal Convention. But if the third parties, because in this case the aircraft went and crashed the building, and the doctors or the interns or the physicians or students died, and these are third parties, and the Montreal Convention doesn't cover that. Now the Rome Convention covers that. If there is any death on the part of this accident, so those parties will be covered under the Rome Convention and the laws pertaining to the Indian laws. So these parties can also recover. People who have died in that building, their families can also recover money on the airlines, on the courier. And the second thing is now, do they, the families pertaining to the passengers and persons who died on the ground, their families have a right to recover. That is called standing. And the families can, they have a standing. Their families like wife, mother, father, or children, they have a right to sue the courier airlines. They can sue and they can get money straight away under the Montreal Convention and Rome Convention. And coming to the negligence part, if there is any negligence on the part of the pilot, unfortunately, if there is any malice or a bad ill will, or if there's any terrorism, unfortunately, because the pilots and air crew, they also died, so we cannot sue the pilot or the air crew. But the only thing is, they're all died and their families can also get compensation. Why? Because under the vicarious liability, or as an employer and employee, the airlines have a coverage of insurance. Even the Boeing, which is a manufacturer of this aircraft, also has insurance. And because Tata is also into insurance business, that airlines, Air India is insured by New India Insurance and Air India, Tata AIG. So these are bigger players in insurance business. So the Air India is insured for billions of dollars. This aircraft is all insured, and they have 130 fleets. They're all insured for billions of dollars. Now they're paying every month some $130 million insurance premium. And what is happening is, this insurance, there is, every courier has an insurance cover. And there is a cover by the passenger also. When we take a ticket, there is an insurance cover. It's called travel insurance. That is also covered to the passenger. So what's going to happen? The airlines, the courier, which is going to pay, they're paying from their pocket, but eventually they will get indemnified by the insurance company. But in this case, because Air India is also owned by the Tata Insurance, the AIG, the Tata Insurance is in business. AIG is a big partner from US. American insurance company is also involved. So one must understand there are cross-country jurisdictional issues here. So now they've started investigating. The Director General of Aviation has started investigation as to see what is the error. Is it a pilot error, or is it a mechanical failure, or when before it took off, is this the engineer's fault? They have certified the airworthiness of this airfitness to this aircraft. They're doing all this investigation. And it is too early to say who is at fault. So, I mean, during the time, we will get to know whether it is a mechanical failure or the failure of the pilot. What we understood is by the media sources that after 5 minutes, it lost its communication with the air control tower. So the air control tower is run by the Airports Authority. Airports Authority is a government of India agency, which is a sovereign, and they have certain immunity. The Airports Authority of India and Director General also have certain sovereign immunity. But this is all a complex area to speak about jurisprudence, whether the Airports Authority or the government of India is liable for the negligence, or a gross negligence, or criminal negligence, and that we will talk in a different episode. But a prima facie, we want to just do the legal analysis to understand who is liable. So as per the Montreal Convention, the airlines have already declared 1 crore, and they are entitled for 1.5 crore. That means all the passengers' families who died, their family can recover another 50 lakhs on as per the Montreal Convention. And coming back to which court has jurisdiction, whether the Indian courts have jurisdiction, because if they determine that there is a mechanical failure or there's a defect in product of their Boeing, then the US courts will have jurisdiction, and there are 50 British nationals. They can also sue in the British courts. they also have a proper forum as British courts. They can also, their families can also file cases, and they can also file cases in Indian courts. And if there is a defect in the Boeing, if they determine that there's a Boeing is also the machine defect, or there's a defect in their software, or there's a defect in their machinery, or in their any defect in the failure in the Boeing, then the Boeing will be liable to be sued in the American courts. So the proper forum will be the American courts. For the British national, the proper forum will be the British courts, and the proper forum will be the Ahmedabad High Courts or in Supreme Court of India. So what's happening, if you see the past, there is many cases which are pending in India. In the Mangalore crash, the cases are still pending in Supreme Court. It is taking number of years. So most of the times, if you see the history in the past, when you see the Bhopal gas tragedy, the government of India has constituted a tribunal. So it is too early to talk whether the government of India will constitute a tribunal, or whether there will be a pressure on the government of India or to constitute any tribunals or any alternate dispute resolution mechanisms. Initially, what the passengers, the victims' families can recover is 1.5 crores. And they have a right to get that 1.5 crores under the Montreal Conventions. And in the future, if the investigation reveals that there is a failure on the part of maintenance by the maintenance engineers, if there is a failure on the part of the Boeing, or if there is a fault of the Air India company, or there is a fault on the part of aviation, which is because they said they lost the signals. If they come to know, then there is a cause of action as against airport authorities as well, because air control is controlled by the airports authority. So there are many aspects of this in the future, and this is all there are it goes it's a very complex litigation, and the lawyers from India, the lawyers from Great Britain, the lawyers from USA, because there's one passenger who is from Portugal. He's Portuguese because India doesn't have a registered office. Air India doesn't have a registered office in Portugal. Unfortunately, the family of Portugal has to come to India and litigate and get the money because they have to prove that they are family members. The Indian CPC, Indian laws give a right to sue, or right to claim compensation, and even right to sue under the tort law. And if there is any criminal negligence on the part of the airlines or on the part of government, there is a criminal negligence is involved, and they could be criminally liable. But under the Constitution of India, under the international conventions, under the Indian municipal law, under the Rome Conventions, these all are very complex international laws and multi-jurisdictional issues. And if anybody wants to recover the families from Great Britain, or the families from India, the families from Portugal or anything, they have to team up with multinational lawyers, and it's going to be a complex litigation. And our firm is in New York and London and India. Our firm can handle such complex litigation. And because of my legal education in India, and legal education in England, legal education in Australia and America, I'm able to do this legal analysis, which is a very complex area. And we are willing to team up with the American lawyers, with British lawyers, with Indian lawyers, and any international lawyers to help and assist and advocate the victims' families. And we're not trying to solicit through this video. I'm trying to make an attempt to legally analyze. And coming to the insurance, because the airlines have an insurance policy, those insurance companies would indemnify either Boeing or the Air India in the event they're indemnifying, if the airlines is indemnifying the passengers or the victims. The other thing is, because these insurance companies will also be sued, because the New India Insurance is there, and AIG Insurance is there, Tata Insurance is there. These guys will also be sued, and the Boeings could be sued, and the airlines could be sued in the event of tort law. if the investigation reveals that there was some defective on the part of the courier, on the part of the pilots, if the pilots have been error under the vicarious liability, Air India could be liable. And Air India could also be liable under the joint and several liability, and the Air India could be liable under the constructive liability. They could even pull the Singapore Airlines, because Singapore Airlines also have a stake. By lifting the corporate VL, they could make Singapore Airlines and Tata liable. The other thing is, because we don't have the merger documents in our custody to say whether the mergers have completed, and we don't have the information about the acquisitions and mergers, whether the Tata is 100% liable or still any things are pending, whether the Air India is still, whether the government of still India is still having any board, are they controlling the management? We don't have that information to make the government of India liable. So this is all going to be after the investigation and after discovery process by the attorneys in India, attorneys in England, or attorneys in the solicitors and barristers in England, and attorneys in America. So by seeing the media, we came to know that Boeing is cooperating with Air India, and Air India is cooperating with Indian authorities, with the Director General of Civil Aviation and the Ministry of Civil Aviation. We will hope that the investigation report will come out, and the Tatas have already said that they will reconstruct the building of BJ Medical College, and they also gave a statement that they're going to compensate the victims who died. And we don't know how many people will be liable in this whole of complex litigation. And I'm going to share this information with some media guys in India and international media. And we have started an advocacy group in New York and our Facebook called Advocacy for Victims. And we're going to share this legal analysis in that. And we're going to share this legal analysis with some advocacy groups in India and with some media, so that they can access this. And the whole purpose of this legal analysis is not to solicit or not to instigate any person to do frivolous claims, but just to educate as a pro bono work. And our firm is also in Ahmedabad, and we are willing to assist any families as part of this advocacy program from our law firm of Kaveti International from New York. And we are available, and my number is there. I'm available, and my firm, we are available in India, we are available in England. If any victims' families wants to get in touch with our firm in England, we are willing to assist you. Our firm is also there in Ahmedabad. Our firm is in US. If anybody intends to get in touch, please get in touch with us. We are willing to do, assist you, educate you, and in raising the claims. We can also assist you guys in making settlements with the insurance companies or with the airlines, or we can assist you in filing public interest litigation or filing any claims in any parts of the world. And thank you very much. And we will come up with more information on this. We will do a continuous series, because once we get the investigation report, we will have more information and we can do more legal analysis. Thank you very much. And signing out from New York, thank you very much. Please share this with your friends and family. This will be a great information. Thank you very much.